allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Trustee roll call.
Megan Kane,
Here.
Shane Stidham,
Here.
Dale Glick,
Get present.
Gick, I'm sorry. Joshua Henry,
Present.
we have a quorum.
First item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from June 4th, 2025.
That's second.
Approved. Okay.
Who
Next,
did, one more time, who did it first? Dale and then Shane.
Josh second.
Josh, okay, sorry.
We ready?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little off, but I'll get it there.
Okay, voucher packet from July 2nd, 2025. Any discussion there?
So, I have to get with our software, get that set up, and then we'll have the voucher packet. So it should be up next time. Okay. There's only one charge on there that we have as a credit card. Was it?
Was for the IPR.
Probably for the-
Yeah.
Which we've got. Actually. So I'll give this to Carmen so she has it.
Okay.
Taken off. All right. Any other questions or discussions about that, gentlemen?
No.
Moving on to new business.
So first of all, I want to say thank you, Shane Stidham is our new member on the Parks and Recreation Board, so welcome. And looking forward to your input. Not sure, I don't think the context folks are going to be here today, but just want to give you an update on where we're at with the master plan schedule. So in your documents, you were emailed, you should have gotten this nice chart that kind of gives there's key deadlines that we need to be mindful of as far as what we have to submit to the Department of Natural Resources. And then they kind of worked back from there. So the goal here for July is the survey, which I went ahead and gave you all the questions for the survey. If you've had a chance to read through those, if you have any questions, concerns, yes, sir.
I did have a question. But
Uh-huh.
see.
Okay, would you mind going and making some copies of these real quick so they can see it hard? I think it's front to back. The one thing that, on the survey, I thought it had a little too many questions, but I'm hoping we don't lose people. So I did modify, there were a couple questions that I thought could deter people from, stopping right there and not finishing it. So I did ask if they, not force everybody to answer every question, because especially like financial parts, sometimes people get real picky or, don't want to disclose that information.
And this is the questionnaire that I pull up QR.
Yes. So the one event so what they're planning to do is they're going to be at our Summerfest event, which is July 25th, and they're going to have a booth there with the QR code, like postcards, and then have like a candy or something to attract people to come and participate. So we've got a booth set up, and then they're planning to put together display boards for us to kind of do as a mobile unit. And so I talked to Josh about the movie that you guys are doing for the Little League to see if that would be something, an event we could pop into, gather some data, have the QR codes, but I think you said that's next Friday.
July 11th.
July 11th.
Yeah.
Ideally, they were hoping to open up the survey by July 14th, but I'm going to shoot for the July 11th. So we can have at least the display boards and then the postcards with start collecting data. The survey will be open tentatively from July 11th to August 15th, so it would be a month. And then we would have the summer event, which last year brought close. It was like 700 people that were there. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to track down.
There's someone.
Oh, okay. This is the fun part with me trying to run. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So the So the Summerfest will be one main event that Context will help us out with, but we have other events that we might be able to have the display boards at. One of those is the farmer's market. But I wanted to kind of brainstorm with you all real quick. If you know of any other events between July 14th and August 15th that you feel would be good for us to have our presence there. I know we brainstormed originally and talked about maybe at a football game, at one of the Whiteland football games and things like that. But just think of places where people are. And we'll obviously be promoting it out on social media, our website, but where would be other gathering places that you'd like to see these display boards pop up?
Back to school, right?
They do.
I'm good. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd have to see that. So we would probably want to do it more at like, well, I don't want to assume. I was gonna say the elementary schools, high school, most of the kids kind of go and register themselves. And you kind of lose parent contact unless you're at like a sporting event, I would say, is my experience. But the middle school, I mean, it's technically in Greenwood, but I think they would probably allow us to participate in that. And they have a registration day. It's the week of the 21st. It's one of those days. I can't remember exactly which day it is. But that might be something that they would allow for us to collect data. And then, like I said, the other date that I was kind of mulling around was like a football. So what are your thoughts on the school activities as far as registration, or back to school nights? Elementary, since that one's in Whiteland, the high school, do we want to try to go kind of within the Clark Pleasant School District, but technically outside of Whiteland?
Well, from a rec sports perspective, there's a couple events going on. So the Whiteland Warriors Youth Football League starts up at the end of July, and their jamboree is on August the 9th, which is a Saturday.
Okay. Is that, I'll have that out of Pleasant Grove. Yeah, Pleasant Grove.
Correct, but the jamboree should take place at the high school football field, correct?
You said, when did they kick off?
August 9th.
Good night.
Yeah, and that starts 9 a.m. in the morning and runs until later afternoon.
like parents and.
So
kids.
yeah, so that's all, that's the start of the season basically for the games. Pitcher day happens as well, and then start of the games there. Still running signups at the moment, yes. Teams will be put together on the 4th of August, so. Signups run until, I think, mid-July, if I'm not mistaken.
What are your thoughts on like Dale's idea with the back to school night? Again, do we want to look at any Clark Pleasant school that would allow us to collect data?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I just came off the back to school night last year with my kindergarten and it was heavily populated.
Yeah.
So parents and a big good spot.
okay. All right. I will get with Dr. Edsel and just kind of see if that's something that they would allow. And he's actually agreed to be on our steering committee. So that will help navigate through any of the school concerns and that. So then the goal, okay, so another thing that we talked about, I'll come back to the survey here in just my brain kind of pops around. I'll let you guys kind of look at that if you need to, and we'll come back to the survey. The other kind of just how the steering committee, and we talked about this last month, but we didn't really firm up who from this group would like to be a part of it, or do you all want to be a part of it? If you all are a part of it, it becomes a public meeting, similar to your board meetings, just because there's a quorum. So I know we only had 3 of you as last time, but I have a feeling you're all going to have some part of wanting to be a part of the steering committee.
But that's where we were at as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought so as well. I just wanted to confirm that. And then, so they suggested, keeping it to maybe 5 to 7 members, suggested somebody from the school. So I did go ahead and reach out, like I said, to Dr. Edsel, and if he is interested in being part of that group. Is there anybody else that you would like to see as part of a steering committee? Now, and Shane, just to kind of catch you up, so the steering committee will be kind of that overarching 10,000 foot level, help with some of the data collection and that, but we will also have stakeholder meetings where we'll identify who are the movers and shakers in town, who are the folks that, are there any community organizations or clubs or people that we just want to gather input to put into the plan that, like I said, kind of have, are more than just, the general a resident, but their own a business or an organization or a club that they kind of run where they potentially use the parks.
I think we talked about Mike Wood for Bailey.
Yep.
And then we also wanted to reach out to one of the senior citizen groups, I think.
Yeah, that would be.
Was the other one?
Okay.
We talked about Rascals too. That could be a good spot too, to set up something.
Yeah, we can get on.
Get it.
That-
Hold it for him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
That includes some of the town then too.
Yes, yeah, we would have representation with this group as well.
I think we put a pretty big there already.
I know. And like when we did the steering committee for the plan, the comprehensive plan, we had like 20 people, but only when it got down to the nuts and bolts of things, we really only had like a core group that continued to show up and that was a little different.
We wanted someone from the council, town council, so we didn't have to relay.
Correct.
For
Yeah.
that presence.
Yeah.
I can ask Brad if he would be that representative. We have our meeting next Tuesday.
What is one of the senior citizen groups in town? I'm not too familiar
So
with that.
the one that I communicate with quite a bit is Johnson County Senior Services. Technically, they're in the jurisdiction of the county, but they're right across the street from Brigham Elementary on Tracy Road. But we do a lot of things with the senior services group and kind of that bending ear for them when they, have a concern with, somebody in that population. So I can reach out to Kim Smith, who the executive director is there. The library was another idea that they had, just because they do a lot of, programming that's not just inside their four walls. So that was another idea as well, but again, we're kind of getting big, but
But during the summer, that's a really fun.
absolutely,
Plus the farmers markets there.
yes. Yep,
Is that for a pop-up event or representation? Sorry.
that's up to you guys. I mean, maybe we ask them to be a stakeholder. Maybe we have them be a stakeholder and not necessarily on the steering.
Cause I could see that being a hot spot for a pop-up event.
Yeah, oh, certainly. Well, and that's with the farmer's market or even to set up inside the library. So they just had summer camp. I'll have to look to see what other schedules they have as far as like a camp, with the remaining, 3 weeks of summer left here for Clark Pleasant. To see if it would make sense where we know there's gonna be a big group of folks coming in. So yeah, just wanted to kind of brainstorm. I'll pull that all together as far as the dates and get those out. And if you and this isn't something that, context will necessarily be at all of them. They might be at one of the farmers markets and then the summer fest, but this might be something that you're like, hey, Carmen, can I check out the boards and I want to do it, or just set up the table kind of thing. So I'll lean on you guys to help me, because that's, and especially if you're already going to be there, maybe I don't know, that she said they put candy with the QR code and entertain people, and the one that they did up at Cedar Lake, and I think they shared this idea, people think you're selling something, so they try to avoid you like the plague. They actually did rock painting, and she just brought in paints and rocks, and that brought the kids over and then gave them an opportunity to talk to the parents and kind of asked what they, so the only, like I said, going back to the survey, that was the only other thing that I had for today's meeting. Just if you guys had reviewed the questions, if you had any concerns.
I had a question on point C. Low cost recreational playing was sort of as a source of funding for public improvement.
Yes,
We would you be willing to pay a small fee one time? I guess I need a little more direction in there. Is that, like, if you're in a, you're playing, say we had pickleball, is that one by play? Is that for the league? Is there, so you kind of,
So the, what does one time mean?
Yeah.
Is it, okay,
I think if you're in a program, like a pickleball, you're being matched up for a season or something. To me, it should be,
They-
would you pay $50 or $200 for a season versus 1 to 5 or whatever?
right, okay. Any other comments on the survey?
Felt like a lot of the good questions, like the meat and potato questions, like, yes, correct. And having filled out some surveys before, I could see people just kind of being like, whatever, near the end.
And that's
So-
where I kind of, it's 23 questions long.
Mhm.
So would it make more sense to either shorten the number of questions? Because like you said, we want that demographic information, but how crucial, like,
Like number 6 is gonna, that's gonna take some time to get through. That's a really like substantive question.
yes,
A lot of
that'll
people
be one that
forget.
is important to Dale.
Yeah.
The
You
ADA.
know, and I completely agree. We move it down a little bit.
So maybe a reordering of priorities. Is anybody willing to kind of run through it? And, give me their thoughts on what questions they would like to answer, and maybe we save the demographics for the last. Maybe flip flop it.
Flip flop it.
Yeah, I would agree, flip flopping the demographics at the end.
Okay,
That way they're more attentive to the beginning of your survey. And
Certainly.
then you fly through the last part of the stuff.
And I appreciate the ADA one on there. I may even just eliminate that one because it's gonna be a requirement to do anyway. And the population that you're going to hit is not the majority. So by meeting the requirements of the ADA, you're probably serving the people within the community that you need to serve anyway.
okay. I'll talk that over with Fred and just kind of make sure because it's something we have to ask, and that's also with the plan. There are certain things we have to do that DNR requires, and so there may be some sort of question that's required in that, so.
You guys done questionnaires like this in the past?
We did it with the comprehensive plan, but to be honest, we didn't get it. I mean, so our community, Edinburgh, Greenwood, we're all doing our comprehensive. And Edinburgh was going on the water, but I think it was all in how it was promoted, that kind of thing with the comprehensive plan. It was, 2 guys dressed in button-down shirts and khakis at the farmer's market. I mean, it wasn't like people from our community talking to, people from our community. So,
I would just worry.
that was my concern. Yes.
Once you get over that 15-ish mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Those
gonna
patients.
mention that as well. I just put a baseball survey together and it was literally 8 questions. Cause I know where the attention span's gonna be at.
They usually say you get like first spot rate, like that rock, it's really good. Some people kind of, so,
I have a couple more questions on
Yeah.
this. So I love that there's no like fill in the blanks too. That's really nice. It's self-fillable. But if they don't, like, let's say they skip number 2, will they still be able to complete the rest of it?
I asked for them to allow that to where they can skip questions. That
Okay.
certain questions weren't required. I figured where people might get hung up is when they talk about income
Mhm.
or age of people in the household. People can kind of, either get just choose to stop
Okay.
for whatever reason. So they can pick and choose which questions they answer.
Okay. And then the last question I have is on number 23, where we say, how would you like to engage with and receive information from the Whiteland Parks and Recreation System? When I read that, I think, oh, I'm gonna give them my email and they're gonna like spam me. So if we're not gonna contact them after this, and that's just,
Yeah.
we might put that in there. That this
Okay.
isn't for marketing purposes, that we're not gonna
Okay.
be contacting them.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just kidding.
I guess that brings up another question. When they,
Email.
when they scan the code, it's strictly anonymous, right?
It should be.
They don't
I
have to
can
put
double
any
check.
information in.
They do not.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, that's,
if I'm imagining and how it was for the comprehensive plan is they would scan it, they would click it, they don't have to put in any demographic information. Now, if somebody wanted to really go down the rabbit hole, I'm sure they could look up IP addresses. We don't.
oh, that's a
Right.
good
And
point.
that's-
We don't need to have that.
In that.
That's why I was wondering if it was, if it is strictly unit, anonymous, then we don't have to worry about it.
So do we even need that last question then?
I don't think so.
If we're not gonna collect how to contact them, what would we even
But is the question intended to see how they want to engage with the Parks
in the
Department?
future?
And so I think
Okay,
that makes sense.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need more
I think
staff.
most people will. probably be saying-
Probably.
Okay.
So the first question, what method are you using to access the survey?
Mhm.
That information that can kind of be generated.
How they choose the QR code
Yeah.
where they click,
Like
so,
if you're at an event hosted by the town,
yeah.
aren't those all collected at one time and we could just say,
You could-
these are all collected here?
Yeah, I mean, if they take the postcard home, most likely they're not going to scan it later, they're just taking to suffice
Yep.
whoever's handing it to them, but
Yep.
I think we can probably look at that and see, and they could probably set up the
QR codes that way.
QR codes to do the range date, so like if on 7/25, the date of our Summerfest, we had, 100 people click the QR code, this is how far they got in the survey, I know that those all have that data analytics for, that they just open it and just didn't answer any questions and kind of give you that information,
Is there a reason we care?
correct? Unless, again, that's a DNR thing that requires how many people. It's at stats, like, I mean, you've read like comprehensive plans and park plans, they'll say we reached this many people and, these are the type of events, but do they really need that that statistical information? to
Maybe for
say,
future reference, they're trying to decide what method does. I mean, if they look back.
I don't think up to the dates.
Well, I don't even know if we're gonna have, I mean, we talked about a social media one, but I mean, aside from the QR code, that's gonna be at these pop-up events. Is that the only way to access the survey?
And we'll post it like you said, a link through like social media or
Okay.
website, that kind of thing.
So-
But so if they found it on social media. That might be another, but with whatever post we put out, we could always look at the Facebook
Yeah,
analytics to show that too.
and we are trying to cut questions.
Yeah.
Your social media, the town, does it capture how many people click on which links?
Yes,
So we could get that data kind of. through back.
but if somebody shares it on like another page, I can't track, I can only track what groups or people there. What's that? I'm
So
sorry.
the QR code would be.
Yeah,
Just there.
Like this QR code was specific to the social media post, this one was
was
specific.
the
to the-
postcard. Yeah,
That might be easier said than done, but
well, you don't usually want to put a QR code on your social media because people can't. Unless they're on their
Just the link.
computer and then scan, it's just more of a link. Kind of thing, so. Okay, I'll see if you guys think of anything else by Monday. If you can get me any of your comments, because we've got the holiday weekend, so I'm sure everybody's gonna be wanting to stay inside. So, yeah. The only other thing that I have, it's not on the agenda, but just be mindful of, I think I briefly spoke about it last time, is that we will be starting the budget season. This is the budget season that starts for the town. The Parks Board, we will be asking you all to normally what we do is the staff put the budget together and then kind of present to you all, and you will have to approve it. I mean, you have to approve it or not approve it. But that, that will be beginning, so we'll have a preliminary kind of budget, to you all for next time. This year's budget is very, minimal. But we do have a fund balance, of 78,000 and some odd change. But just so you know, like where my brain goes is what could we do now to kind of generate revenue? So, you know, it's not something we have to discuss today, but as we kind of get this plan together, I'm gonna want to think of ways to fundraise or generate revenue, look for grants, and that's why we have to have this park plan done, is to be able to be eligible for grants through DNR. So my background's nonprofit, so I like to ask for money and I want to get some stuff done. And my other passion is trails, and so I really want to get trails and, you know, and that, but they estimate $1 million a mile, so on a trail. So be mindful of when we're asking 78,000 isn't going to get us very far. But I'm excited to see how this group, I know a little bit about each of you, and just the passion of all of us in this community want more amenities for our residents and for our future residents and our, so, and an opportunity to memorialize. Any other questions for me? Did anybody else join up there? Okay,
No.
well, hopefully they can hear.
And the one that was there left.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, I saw his name.
Oh, was it my husband?
Yeah. What's his name?
Okay, well,
Is it?
he's there. Yeah. Gosh. So then I guess I guess I'll open it up for public comment, but it seems to be there's no one in the public. Okay. Anything under old business that we need to talk about?
I have nothing.
Well, I think that's it. Have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Adjourned. I know I only did it once this time, so I'm good.